What do you think of how to check the body for magnesium deficiency? The correct answer is, unfortunately, there is no reliable laboratory test for it. The thing is, opposite to other minerals like sodium, like potassium, like calcium, the level of magnesium in our serum, which is most commonly used for the blood tests, does not reflect the level of magnesium in our tissues. Patients may have a severe heart attack, or patients may have thrombosis, they may have a stroke, and at the same time, the lab tests would show that their blood level of magnesium is completely normal. Similarly, serum level of magnesium might be close to the upper limit of normal or even slightly exceeded, even if a person is taking not that much of magnesium. Serum magnesium level is not an indicator of the magnesium sufficiency for the tissue, very much unfortunately so. There are studies which show that measuring magnesium inside our red blood cells might be of a better sensitivity for the magnesium deficiency. But there are also quite many pieces of research which show that unfortunately it is not true. So in some hands, in some laboratories, magnesium level in the red blood cells much better reflects the body total magnesium status than the serum. Some studies do not support it. Besides, measuring magnesium level in the red blood cells requires a high level of accuracy and care of the transportation and treatment of the blood sample, because if, for whichever reasons, the membrane of the red blood cell is impaired or damaged during transportation of the sample to the laboratory will get an erroneous result. There was a handful of articles that also prove that, especially in the athletes, the lab test which would nicely answer the question of the athlete's need in magnesium is the level of magnesium in a tiny piece of the athlete's muscle tissue, which is taken from the athlete's body by biopsy. But I believe there are not so many athletes who would agree for being subjected to such a procedure, especially before the competition. And working with magnesium analysis in the muscle tissue requires quite high analytical skills and highly equipped analytical laboratories. There are publications that demonstrate a better sensitivity of magnesium tests, which are based on the use of radioactive magnesium. Not everyone would agree to take a radioactive isotope of magnesium just for the sake of a higher sensitivity of such laboratory tests. Unfortunately, again, no lab test nowadays can adequately reflect the total body magnesium requirement. We do have some suggestions for how to. The technique is not quite easy, but still can be done to every examined person. Implementing that into the clinical practice is, of course, the matter of future time. So, the best indicator of a magnesium deficiency in a particular person is its clinical, his or her clinical picture. If a person is feeling fatigued, tired, if a person doesn't know how to open his or her eyes in the morning, and so on and so forth, obviously this means the deficiency of adenosine triphosphate, which is produced through magnesium-dependent enzymes. Therefore, deficiency of magnesium. If a person is suffering from cardiovascular problems, thrombosis, varicose vein, stroke, elevated blood pressure, and so on, this definitely indicates magnesium deficiency. If a person has muscle cramps, especially long-lasting muscle cramps, this is a direct indication of a magnesium deficiency, because magnesium is essential for the muscle relaxation, opposite to calcium, by the way, even though quite many believe that if the muscle cramps, this is because of the deficiency of calcium. Just nothing could be far from the truth. Calcium is required for the muscle activation and the muscle contraction. Magnesium is required for the muscle relaxation. If a person is overexcited due to the overuse of his or her mobile phone, due to sleeping together with the mobile phone under his or her pillow, and so on and so forth, this again indicates magnesium deficiency because non-ionizing electromagnetic radiation, unfortunately, activates the excitatory processes in the brain. And to balance this activation, well, of course, the person first has to stop living or feeling dependent on his or her mobile phone. But to balance this activation or overactivation, the person has to consider magnesium supplementation. Magnesium is required for the prevention of the extra clotting of the blood platelets. In magnesium deficient patients, blood platelets are much more prone to clot, and this is why every kind of thrombosis requires mostly and primarily treatment with magnesium. Magnesium deficiency is linked to our incapability of tolerating glucose. So the pre-diabetes and diabetes are in fact the conditions that could be dramatically improved by a proper supplementation with a proper form of magnesium. In other words, how a person feels, how he acts, whether he or she is active or passive or just completely depleted of energy, whether a person has this or that range of clinical conditions, this is the complex which describes, reflects, and shows magnesium deficiency.